Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Kirkpatrick. I am an author and robot, and today I figured we're getting close to the 1 year anniversary of the release of Dead End Drive, and maybe this isn't going to be interesting for anybody else, but I figured I would do some anniversary AuthorTube questionnaire to talk about the book, talk about what I've learned, and just some things. So before we get started, number one, check out lmao down in the description below if you would like your short stories featured on this channel for October. 1 year anniversary for that as well, so that's pretty exciting. And number two, also check out pitch fit down below if you are a creative and would like your creative work pitched on this channel that is not a specifically written prompt short story. And third thing, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, subscribe for more. That is all of it. So I don't want to make the intro too long, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So for all of the questions that I'm about to ask in this video, I will put them down in the comments below. I actually created this AuthorTube tag because a couple of months ago I was looking around for different tags to talk about books and writing as they actually pertains to projects that you're working on. I'm not very good at the really abstract ones that are just like, what costume would your character wear on Halloween? It's just not as much of my thing. And so I was looking for stuff that really induces maybe conversation about books that are released or that are going to be released, or reflections, and I didn't see anything like that. So I created some of these, so feel free to use the anniversary AuthorTube questions with your own book releases if you ever feel you would like to. And that's pretty much it. So number one, what is the name of the book being anniversaried today? It is Dead End Drive. You can only sort of see it over to my right. When was the book originally released? It was released October 13th, 2020. Question three is, what is the genre? And the genre for this specific book is satire horror. So it's got some ridiculousness and it's got some bloody deaths. I am actually curious as to which of the deaths people might call the most brutal, because some of them are more brutal than others. I definitely know which one I think is more brutal, but I would be interested in hearing what other people consider the most brutal death and why they choose that as the most brutal death. Question four is, who is your favorite character in this novel and why? That is a really hard question for me because all of the characters in this novel are so unique and they are so over the top. And I like them for different reasons. Like, Alex has all of the best lines, but I love Gavin's character. So it's going to be one of those two. If I had to pick a top character, it would either be Alex because he is hilarious and he is over the top. And in my opinion, he's got the best. He's got the best kill. And just Gavin because of his sense of duty, his sense of place, and his determination for seeing things through when he thinks that it's a duty. Question number five is, what is the most memorable scene for you in this novel? I would say I'm probably going to put most memorable and favorite scenes. Yeah, okay, I have two very favorite scenes in this. Number one is this scene, just the whole section where two of the characters team up together to try to kill another one, and there's a moment where the chandelier just drops because they're trying to kill him with a dropping chandelier, and it smashes on the floor right behind him, and you just see him turn around and he goes, And he starts laughing because bad things happen to him all the time. And then he notices that one of the guys that tried to kill him is against the wall. He doesn't know this guy tried to kill him, but he notices somebody standing over there watching who just saw the chandelier fall on him, and he goes, this kind of stuff happens to me all the time. My mom says I must have a guardian angel. And then he kind of keeps going, like, well, that was awkward. That's probably one of my favorite scenes. And then the other one of my favorite scenes would be in the only backflash. I don't know why I always say backflash. In the only flashback in the book, which has Gavin burying his father, and Bertrand showing him how to do it properly and teaching him duty and expectation. Because I really like the energy between Gavin and Bertrand throughout the whole thing, and him as a father figure. Question six, now for something different. What is something that you cut from the final release, but you still remember being in the draft? So I remember restarting how Dead End Drive actually started a bunch of times. There was first initially introducing each of the characters, I think with their backgrounds, kind of like you're reading the character cards inside of a rule book to get to know the characters before it starts. Then there was something else. I think I actually originally also had it started. I think I also tried to have it started when Astra gets to the mansion, instead of having any sort of introduction for the characters at all or to know what the frick is going on. And I also tried to do a backstory for the house. So I remember pretty much the beginning of the Benedict estate and how it was a swamp sold to a guy named Albie, who was an Irish immigrant, came over and met a businessman in New York who was like, hey, yeah, I can help you become a farmer. I have this great deed in the South. If you want this giant bit of land down in the South to start your farm with, well, turns out that it was a swamp and everything there died. And so Albie had to make it work, and there was a little shed in the middle of it, and he had like 4 or 5 hired people from of the nearby dying town of Parvenu, that the only people that populated that were people that landed there by accident and just couldn't get out because there was no way to get out. And so he brought 3 or 4 or 5 men with him onto his land to try to cultivate something to grow, and nothing was growing. They were starving during the winter, and then during the summer, one of them had disappeared over the winter, but stuff was growing now. So that kind of started the whole feeding the dirt to make things grow, and it's, you know, blood in the ground to make the plants grow, sacrifice thing, and that kind of plays through in like the whole story. You want to come in my lap, mister? Come here. Okay, this is my puppy. Hopefully his panting's not that loud. Number 7. What has been one of your favorite responses to the novel? Actually, I think it was one that pointed out the heavy reliance, or the heavy references to innocence and pride, and the reader was really looking at the meaning behind the choices. And when a reader looks into the choices put in a story or the meaning behind a story, that means a lot to me. I think actually that's been my favorite. And then anybody that goes, you know, this was I had so much fun. This was hilarious. I love that too. Number 8 is, what has been the most surprising in the responses that you've gotten so far for the novel? So the most surprising thing for me is the hatred that Kelly gets. So in this novel, Kelly is the 14-year-old heir to the estate. He's kind of immature. He was raised by this woman who didn't know how to raise children because she was traumatized by her own experience with the murder party. But she desperately wanted to be a mother. She messed up 2 other children. You see them in this book. And so she adopted Kelly in desperation to have another child to try again, and she failed again. He doesn't know how to read. He is not well socialized. And at the beginning of the novel, he's lost his mother, and he's upset, and he's worried about his life changing, and he's kind of being shoved along to, hey, this is going to happen, and you're probably going to die. And he's just like, leave me alone, leave me alone. And so many people just straight up hate this kid. They just think that he's a brat, and it's like, this child lost his mom. This child's life is changing before his eyes, and he doesn't have anybody. So that's been the most surprising response. 9. How do you feel about your cover now that you've had a bit of space between it and the release? It depends on the day, really. Sometimes it feels like, and sometimes I look at it and I go, I really, really like that. I think I like it a lot more when it's in the ebook form and the audiobook form, because it's got the blood splatter and the paws, everything on the front. But sometimes when I'm looking at it with just the book and it has just these paw prints on the front, it feels like it might be a little plain, but I think it's a pretty elegant cover, and it takes nice pictures when I'm taking pictures of it. You should, if you head over to my Instagram, I should be posting some newer pictures of it soon, if I haven't already. 10. Is this part of a series or interconnected universe? And if so, when is the next book coming out? So initially, I wrote Dead End Drive planning for it to just be a one and done, a one-off. But after working with Kieran Reagan on the audiobook, he read a couple of lines so perfectly that some ideas formed to do a prequel of this that would show not another murder party, but it would actually be sort of the life of the woman who died. So in this book, Agatha is the owner of the estate, but you would see things before this book took place. So in Dead End Drive, Agatha is the owner of the estate who passes on and causes the murder party to happen. In the ideas that I had for what would be called the Benedict estate, it would follow Agatha when she was in her early 20s, when she met the initial Beauregard, the first Beauregard she marries, and it would show her relationship with Bertrand and that strained relationship of her wanting to be with Bertrand but being unable to be with Bertrand, and the double life that she was living with her two daughters from different parents, or from different fathers, and the social pressures with all of that. It would go over Agatha being 20 with Ellie not being born yet, and then go all the way up through the day that Agatha brings Kelly home when he is 4. So that's on the burner, the back burner. I'm not sure when I'm going to be working on that book, because right now I'm working on Bleed More, Body More's series. And yeah, I have I have stuff planned out. Currently, if the Benedict estate happens, it might be in like 2 years, because I have 2 books planned out for next year and the year after that, and neither of them are the Benedict estate. 11. How has your opinion of this novel changed between the release date and now? So that's always a fun question. If you're a writer, you kind of recognize that as you write for long periods of time, your style changes, you get better at things, you recognize things that you would cut. And I know a lot of authors that actually say they refuse to go back and read old published works because they can see everything that's wrong with it, and then they just hate themselves for it. I was listening to an audiobook chapter of Dead End Drive not that long ago, and I have to be very careful because when I listen to it, like, I really enjoy the book, and I do think that the characters are fun, the story is fun, but I can hear the little line edits that I would make if I was reworking the book, and so I have to be careful of that. But other than knowing that I would make line edits, or I would make character edits, or hey, I would handle that a bit differently now, I still like this book, and I still think the book is fun, and I think it would make a very fun movie. Movie people, contact me. 12. What is one of the biggest themes in your novel, intentional or otherwise? With Dead End Drive, I think one of the bigger themes is if you make yourself the center of everything that you do, if you're powered solely by selfishness, your vices will also become your end, because with all of the characters in here, you'll see them all be ended basically by something that is their biggest negative trait. But if you center others as motivating factors of your life, then you have more to live for, and you have a support that is not there for those who only focus on themselves. I don't want to say too much because that totally spoils the ending, but those who focus on themselves ultimately lose, and it's those that have something else to live for that survive, and that find value outside of themselves, that have reason to survive and build and create the ability to survive. 13. What are some stumbling blocks you ran into during the release of this novel? The biggest, I think, were learning the best ways to edit a novel, especially a novel that took 10 years to work on, because there were so many different periods of editing where different things were done, and it saw different people, and so many different critique partners and even editors looked at this book and missed different things and found different things that even after the ARC process was rough, because it still had some major editing issues, and I couldn't figure out the best way to find all of the editing issues. Now, with Bleed More, Body More, which comes out at the end of October, it has had no comments from ARC readers about the editing being bad, like this one had rough editing. So I've I've gotten better at figuring out how to structure editing to be more effective and how to find the problems with editing better since then. And I've also figured out how to better format the documents. So there is also that. I think for most people going indie or going their own way, one of the bigger stumbling blocks is going to be the editing, making sure that your editing is good, making sure that your layout is good, and also figuring out how to get your book in front of people. Also, it's a slow roll. Building momentum and eyes on your book is a very slow roll until it's not. Number 14, share a favorite quote from your book. Oh my gosh, do I have one? Oh my God, she does have a voice, Alex said, covering an overdramatic gasp with his hand. For a second there, I thought that gay might have ripped out your voice box, banned you from talking like some kind of religious freak, you know? Talk about silence of a woman. I'm much more into what you gotta say than some hyper-controlling butler boy. Still, I feel like I gotta insist. You came all the way here. Have you ever had a haircut? Do you know what it's like to make your own decisions, or has it always been Daddy giving you orders? Sweetie, look, I get it. I've read those books too. You have Stockholm Syndrome. He's an asshole, and you refuse to leave him. We can fix that mindset of yours, though, first by giving you a haircut. That's how all girls find their identities again after a really bad relationship. Haven't you seen the movies? You're not doomed. You're just frumpy. As you would imagine, he is a stylist from New York. So, you know, he's got so many good quotes. He's not the only, oh my gosh, he's got a good one at the beginning of the book too, when he's sitting at the table talking to Madame Astra. There's some good stuff in there. And if you had to pick a song that vibed with this book, what would it be and why that song? So the first one that I think of is the Features, Whatever Gets You By, because I can imagine that when this book ends, if it was a movie, with the final scene, that song playing just as the final action is done and the credits start to roll. I'll link that down in the description below if you want to check it out, and if you've read the book, then you can kind of put the song to image. But otherwise, that's why. The other one is the Congos Come With Me Now, because I could see that as a commercial as stuff is like falling, people trying to kill each other, the ridiculousness of it all. And then of course the In the Hall of the Mountain King by Kevin MacLeod, and then of course In the Hall of the Mountain King, originally composed by Edvard Grieg, which is in the teaser for the Dead End Drive book. So those are those. So those are the top songs that I think of when I think of Dead End Drive. Those are all the questions that I have for the 1-year anniversary of Dead End Drive. I think I'm going to try to come up with another questionnaire that might be a little more focused on the what have you learned today. But if you have any questions specific to like launching a book or learning things post-book, let me know what your questions are, because I would like to be as much help to you as I possibly can and to give the best kind of insight that I can. I just have no idea what people are curious about. So let me know that stuff and more down in the comments. I'm looking forward to your thoughts. With all of that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend and don't die.
The only people who should come are those who want to meet their monsters.
If this is what Agatha wants, I don't know how we can even dispute it.
I change lives, baby.
And I end them. Sweetheart, no bargains hold. Only fools know restraint.
Only losers lose!
I've been under the knife so many times, I'm practically immune to it.
If your scissors are dull, may I recommend sharpening them with leather?
I think I hit you.
Mima says I must have a guardian angel.
To enter the ring but abstain from playing is suicidal. Your virtue makes you nothing but a liability.
You're gonna die. You're gonna die. You're gonna die.